Coach, the Giants, I think they run like a light box like 70% of the time or something on defense. What like opportunities does that provide for the run game when a defense runs like?
What do you mean by light box?
Like 6 men in the box.
Yeah, you would hope if you have a 6-man box and you have enough hats for a hat, then you should be able to run the ball. But I mean, they do play shell defense, but they're really good defense, especially starting inside. Number 97, like their whole defensive front, their whole defense coached really well. So you like the favorable numbers, but you got to get the angles, you got to get your matchups. So again, anytime you have a hat for a hat, you'd hope to get the ball moving, go in the right direction. But we're gonna have to take care of our fundamentals, our techniques, and start with the first level and the communication up front.
Andy, just Jed, Jack, DeJuan, all kind of battling through things. How have you seen them progress through the course of this week in terms of their health and the way they've looked on the field?
Yeah, I leave the medical stuff to the medical people. That's not really my expertise, but they've been in the classroom starting point, very attentive, asking good questions, and then getting an individual, working the different techniques and drills that we've been going through. So again, it's through the course of practice you see them working and continuing to get better and to work back from their respective injuries. So it's been great to have as many bodies out there as possible really practicing. So that's really probably the most fun part, to get with those guys again for it's been about the first 2 weeks of really having those guys out there for individual and getting some team reps. So it's been great to have them out there.
Everyone talks about the 5 guys working in concert, but in this situation that you guys are in right now, might it behoove you to, and I know you can't give me too much on this, but might it behoove you to roll Jack in a little bit on 3rd down or something? I mean, would that work out if you had to do that on either side a little bit?
Yeah, we have a good plan in place. We've talked about it as a staff, and I'll let Kevin divulge all that information when he decides to make that final decision about everything. But again, it's always good to have more than less. So I'll say that always helps. But again, to me, it just goes back to the practice and those guys getting back out there, hearing the calls again, just simple stuff as cadence and just being with the guys again in that capacity. So it's been really great to have them back there.
When you look at your pros and the cons of rotating guys, I know that across the league there's some teams that they rotate their right tackles or left tackles like every two drives. What are the kind of pros and the cons of that?
I think anytime you rotate, take a wide receiver, for example. If a wide receiver is on the field for 60 plays, then that's a lot of plays. So if you can roll a wide receiver, then that helps keep them a little bit more fresh for that, And again, it depends. If the plays are blocked well, then it's a good job. If their plays are not blocked well, then it's not a good job. So it just really depends. So anytime you can take, somebody gets reps, do you do the full game? You're fresher if you run 1 mile than if you run 5 miles, just as a marathoner. So.
The jumbo packages you guys do, particularly with Zach, when you guys have 7 linemen, just first of all, for a rookie, how beneficial is it to get him out there in those game reps, even though it's like an unconventional role?
Yeah, I think anytime, starting off with Zach and any of our guys who are able to participate in that role, they're very smart, they're diligent, and it gives them a heightened awareness for the game. If they're active, for that game, for specifically that role, and then it allows us some flexibility to do multiple things, which, Kevin has done for many years in his past, so something I haven't really been a part of that much, so it's been fun to have that component added, and, Zach takes a lot of, pride in that, and so have all of our guys, Nick Harris, again, Michael Dunn's done it, James Hudson, there's been so many people who've done it, that are on the team, so just, gives them some more ownership and gives them a role, and I think it's great when you have lots of players who can do lots of things, and that gives them a lot of value and gives you some flexibility. So, but it's great, especially as a rookie, to get those experiences and get out on the field.
You alluded to it there, but is it also just like fun to look out there and see 7 of your guys?
The more the merrier, they say. Expect linemen getting on the field. It's it's great. I think there's an attitude that comes with it. We were able to utilize it last week in the win, which was great, and then so it's continued to build on the package and the things that you were available and able to do.
Andy, you guys have dealt with a lot of penalties over these 2 weeks. You guys are the most penalized team in the league, and there have been offensive penalties. What's been the focus for you guys, especially just on the offensive line, about cleaning those up and the mentality that goes into that?
Yeah, you always want to be penalty freaks. You don't want to hurt the team. There's some penalties, the pre-snap penalties, the lining up in the right position, making sure you're on the snap count not too early. Like those are things you definitely can control. When you get in a situation where there's holdings, again, we don't coach those. We coach how to not do those, hands inside, keep your feet running. So all those things are coached. But to me, the ones you can definitely control, the pre-snap penalties. So that's what you definitely harp on. And again, nobody's going out there to make any mistakes, obviously. But when those things happen, you just correct them and remind them, hey, here's the cadence. You give them another reminder, hey, this is going to happen. Here's a situation you can be in. You try to put them in as many situations as possible to get that experience and, go through another walkthrough, change up the cadence, just different things. Make sure, give them the reminders, make sure you're lining up, make sure you're checking with the officials. Whatever the emphasis is of the week, that's the things that the officials are going to be looking for. So it's our job to educate the players and continue to preach the right habits. When you get into situations of holding calls or different things like that, if it's a physical mistake or you're going in, you're straining, it's football. Sometimes they're going to happen. Do you agree with all the calls? Not necessarily, but they make the calls and you have to adjust. My biggest thing is, what do you do after the play, right? Next play mentality, have your head up, regroup, and play the next down because you have another down to play. You can't worry about a previous play and let that take over to the next play. So it's been an emphasis for sure.
With Jack, it had been about a year since he had practiced. So in these last, 3 weeks that he's been able to be out there, how have you seen him kind of get more comfortable just being out there and with the knee?
Yeah, just watching him, and again, being my first time I've actually been on the field with the guy and watching him, so seeing him, each day work and just the different drills and just being around him and his intent, asking questions and just going through the process. So I think every day you see him getting a little better every single day as he's gone through this process. So it's been fun, really.
On that long run by Jerome, looked like it was Joel, the one on the fourth down.
Oh yeah, that was great.
It looked like it was Joel that was out there kind of leading the way. We've seen Wyatt on film, kind of getting out in space and making blocks. How valuable is it having two guards that can move like that?
Anytime you can have more athletes in space, get some more O-linemen on the field, maybe go, jumbo personnel, whatever. But yeah, anytime you can use anybody's skill set. So what are they? We happen to have really talented, O-linemen who can move in space. So you want to use everything you can to your advantage if you can use that versus an opponent. So yeah, have the flexibility of guys in space. It's great.
Of a decision will you be facing when all three of your top tackles are healthy?
I think as an organization we'll come to a decision, and whatever that decision is, we'll go with it. And it's a good problem to have. It's a good decision to have to make, however that plays out.
Along those lines, just when a guy maybe is moving from playing one side to the other, because there's some shuffling that could go on. I know Jack's been doing some stuff at left tackle. He's been right tackle mostly in the NFL. How difficult of a transition is that for certain players?
Yeah, I think anything with any muscle memory for whatever you're doing, if you're a righty and you're always right with your right, then you have to go to your left, and sometimes there's some difficulty. But Jack's played it, James Hudson's played left and right. DeJuan's played right and left. You have guards that are switching. You have centers that have to play guard. So, again, being a part of the O-line, when you get these drills and you're doing them, the movements, and if you're working a double on the front side, it's really just a single, just a man removed. Like we have, Zach Zinner's out there. If he's working as a tight end, it's a triple, but it's just a single if he was at a guard. So to me, I try to just put everything in, try to compartmentalize it for the guys. Like, hey, this is the same exact thing you're doing. You just have 3 feet more space. So again, going back to the whole Zach thing, playing it's a little bit quieter out there, right? You're not right next to the center. You're not right next to the quarterback. So, again, just try to take the same techniques and you're just bumping them out a little bit as far as spacing. So try not to make it more than it is. But, again, just like anything, you have to work and practice at it.
What have you learned about Jed since you've been here and since he's trying to come back from his surgery?
What have I learned about Jed? Well, when lining up against those guys to give them looks or just going through walkthroughs and stuff, how strong he is. He plays with great length, his hand. He has good posture, his hips underneath him. Ask good questions. He actually asked a question, and then it showed up hey, what if this happens in this situation? And 3 plays later, I think it might have even been on look team, that happened, and it showed up, and we were able to coach off of that. So just his, the thought process and looking forward to okay, here's what the play is, but here, what's the next thing? What's the what if that could happen out of that? So just when you get around the guys and they start practicing, you see how their body moves, again, for the first time that I've been with these guys. So it's been cool to see, but just getting to know him as a player. And again, in meetings, he's been attentive, asking questions and helping with the younger guys as far as, pass sets or whatever it is, any technique stuff. So, but it's just been good to have the dialogue and have it pertain more to game plan potentially at this point.
What have you seen from Jermaine as he was elevated the last 2 weeks, but in those 2 games, what did you just see in his ability to step in to that role? I
think that's the thing, just his ability to always be ready as a professional. Since he's walked in the building, he's a vet who's played a lot of football, played a lot, played at tackle, played at guard, and his ability to go in and not blink and be able to execute and contribute and be available has been awesome. So again, asking questions, just you see the grittiness and his strain to finish. So I think it's just been a great addition to the room.
You talked about it being a good problem to have if you have three guys that can all sort of start at tackle. Do you see maybe you guys taking almost like a riding the hot hand type of approach to that, depending like if a guy comes back sooner and he's in a certain spot and he's playing well, the other guy that maybe follows in would be just a swing tackle? Like, is that something that you guys have talked about?
Yeah, I don't really try to deal in hypotheticals because you can't really control those things. But again, it's when you have multiple potential situations, you try to just figure out whatever we come to as an organization. I think that'll be the way that we'll go, whatever the best thing is for the team.
Obviously, the sack and quarterback hit numbers dropped a bunch from Dallas to Jacksonville. Did you see the line play that much better protection-wise? And if so, what were the, best adjustments?
I think the biggest thing for us was we wanted to emphasize, playing with better posture, continue to strain in the pocket. So again, every single play there's going to be, as long as we're assignment and we're on the same page, then that's the starting point, and then it's refining the fundamentals and the techniques of, hey, the posture, where are my hands located, where are my feet, am I in the right position, did I take one too many steps, did I take an odd number of steps versus an even number of steps? So to me, and again, it takes all 11 for the run game and in protection, so there's multiple things that go into every play, and I don't think a lot of people always know exactly what all those things are, and you're looking for different things. So I think just overall, in the O-line room, we just work on, hey, what are the fundamentals what are the things that we can control every single time?
One of the biggest skills that Deshaun brings to the table is his ability to extend plays and then make them downfield. How difficult or how do you teach your linemen and the guys up front to block for a quarterback like that when you know that's part of his game?
You block as long as you have to for the guy to throw the ball. Like that's what we talk about. We talk about ugly strain. Like football's not always a pretty sport, especially in the trenches, and you're physically, trying to protect, somebody's trying to get to your guy, so you have to strain. I've, been around quarterbacks who like to run around a little bit, so it's just part of the process, it's part of the game, and you never know where these guys are going to be, and that's the beauty of it, because you're blocking and all of a sudden you'll know what's going on, and then there's an explosive down the field. So you just have to, you block until the ball is thrown. Like, those, you call it, we haul it. Like, those are the rules. Thank you.
How's everyone doing? Did Andy drink this? I better not.
Ronnie was talking about the situation at the very end of Sunday's game, the Hail Mary. He said that's something you guys, almost daily, it seems like he said, that's a situation that's brought up and discussed. How often is that? I mean, is that specific play? I know that when you're in situational periods, but how often do you guys sort of go over that specific, because that's a very specific.
Yeah.
I mean,
all the time. I think Kevin does an amazing job of presenting different situations throughout the week consistently that really the guys anticipate, what's the situation now? And Kevin does a great job of pulling everyone up right before the situation, explaining it to them. Because in practice, like you're practicing. But it's one of the things I really admire by Kevin. He brings everybody up and he tells them all, here's the situation, here's what we're dealing with. And he is constantly hunting. I don't know where he finds all these. He's constantly hunting these situations to put the guys in to be prepared for those moments. Jim is a phenomenal situational coach. After the game, I made sure to tell him, like, a hell of a job, coach, as a coach, watching you deal with that situation, putting guys in the right situations, calling the right defenses, and then just prepping the guys. So we spend a ton of time in that space, in that area. Kevin does a great job structuring it in practice, and I think Jim does an excellent job of understanding where the snakes could be and making sure that we are staying ahead of those. In meetings, we're constantly talking about them. Today, same thing. Pulled up a 2-minute situation, went over it with them, reviewed how we handle it, what could happen, et cetera. So putting in those guys is probably the most important thing.
you were in that thing that you're just talking about one other.
Yeah.
You were in that same situation against Chicago last year, and and he said that specific game it was something that has been brought up regularly.
Again, to just the point that Kevin is not going to allow this team to go into a situation that he has not prepared them for. Or that's what your job as a coach. And I think he does a great job. So those guys were ready. We were prepared. We even had an injury where DeAnthony Bell had to jump in and be an auxiliary player in a curl. And so everyone's locked in, everyone's paying attention, everyone's ready and able to do whatever is needed given the play.
Ephraim, I know you talked in the spring about how much work Juan had
Yeah.
done and getting ready. So just how unfortunate is it for him to go on IR this early in the season? And then, I guess not fortunate, but you guys have experience with dealing with injuries in that room. So going through that last year, how much do you think it's informed how everyone is reacting this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, Ashley. I mean, definitely a bummer, for him to have the injury. But at the same time, there are no problems. There are only solutions in this profession. So for us, the solution is what AB has done in the room, right? And his personnel staff is provided a ton of other tools and opportunity for others to come in there and practice and play well, which is what's happened. We hope to happen and continue to happen with Ronnie, coming in, D Bell, obviously got the OG backing us up always. I could tell you sleep better knowing he's there. So for us, it's a testament to the organization, the job AB and his personnel staff's done, providing us the luxury, the insurance, the really good insurance that we know we have guys that can step in and provide the play. Maybe we don't get exactly the play that Juan is, the player he is, but we know when he comes back, he's going to come back guns blazing, ready to help. But definitely glad that AB stocked the room well, and I sleep better knowing that.
Ephraim, how have you seen that room, though, kind of complement one another? How do their skill sets really work together? So when they're out in the field or they have to step in when Juan goes out, et cetera, that they can fulfill what they need to do?
The biggest thing I think that really helps us in the offseason is just playing them right and left and not at strong safety and free safety like a lot of people do. It expands their learning. It does look a little messy early in the camps and OTAs, but what I'm doing is I'm able to teach them multitude of things. So that way, if we do have to move pieces around, again, there are no problems, only solutions. We're able to put those guys in different spots and they can complement each other. Some guys are better at the second level, some guys are better at the third. We may not have that opportunity. They'll all have snaps in situations. I try to, in games, put those guys in the places that they can play the best, also who they work well with and how they match up. So the room is very diverse. We spend a lot of time talking about that, and I think it starts with the off-season OTAs and into training camp.
The entire secondary has been an example the last couple of years of guys stepping in and not having that drop off. So I guess what is it about Brandon is always talking about the standard in that room. What is it about just the entire secondary that allows you guys to not have a drop off there? Phenomenal
question. I think, again, it's two parts. Personnel, bringing in the right people. Coaches have changed, but that thing has been stayed consistent, right? So personnel, bringing the right people in that room. DBs are different. Like, you got to have the people that can, be ready to fill in, like you said, given whatever the situation is, but also have the skill set to match what is required in the NFL. So that's a great job by our personnel department in having that. I think that the just the overall toughness, the mentality of the room and the culture that's been created before I got here, obviously B. Lynch and the crew, and then obviously what Jim has pushed in terms of his mentality of what this defense should look like now. So again, it is definitely a good thing to have in place, and hopefully we can continue that throughout the year.
What kind of challenges neighbors run after the catch?
Yeah. And
how do you think you guys have been doing, like, from a secondary standpoint, tackling so far?
Number one's a hell of a player. I mean, the amount of targets he's getting, it's impressive. He can run vertical. He can put a foot in the ground. He doesn't play like, a young player. I don't sense that and see that. For us, it's just a high urgency of the fact that we're playing against a great player. So we have, the best corners in the league. I think we have the best corners coach in the world. And I know that those guys will be ready. I know on the back end we're keyed in at safety and where he's at and understanding the structure that's built off of him. So, again, just a hell of a player. Another LSU guy. Obviously, happy birthday, Grant Delpit, by the way. I should have started the meeting with that. But we're excited for the opportunity to compete.
What are you thinking about Daniel Jones as you head into this game?
A lot of background with Daniel, being at Duke and my time at Miami. I saw him all years that he was there. So I've got I've coached against Daniel Jones T-shirt. So I know what that looks like. I know how that feels. I know what you got to be ready for. He's an unbelievably talented arm, but has the legs and the body to run you over. So he's just he can do it all. He can make any throw. He can pull it. He can run. I still have I still wake up in cold sweats in the middle of the night watching him run down the sideline in a Duke uniform. So just a really hell of a player. We know the challenge, tough and physical, and super intelligent, and just a really good challenge, another opportunity to make sure that we hold the standard that we need to win a game.
You mentioned LSU receivers. Why are they so good? I mean, it's just a lineage of them.
Yeah. I think it's a multitude of things there. My son's a GA there now, so I have a good insight of what that place looks like now. The recruiting department, the identification of talent, also the pool that they can pull from is unique. It's unlike other places. But overall, I think the program's done an amazing job of identification of players, development and coaching, and then just being in the right spot, the right place. It's LSU. I mean, it's a beautiful place. Again, just going to get to see it now that my son's there. I see why it's a draw.
There's been a lot of talk lately about teams playing a lot of too high and how that's affected the passing.
Yeah.
From your perspective, how do you think that's been the factor people are making it out to be with some of the passing numbers being down?
So here's my thought on this. I heard the question, and Jim had a great insight yesterday. I think at the end of the day, and Jim's a historian and a great storyteller, and I listen to him all the time. I take knowledge from that all the time. But one of the things I've also noticed over the years in my time is the game's cyclical. It changes. It's going to rotate. 15 years from now, it's going to look different. So I think it's just a constant change. Too high, one high, too high. In terms of the points and the stats and all that, I think it's just early in the season. There's a small sample size, hard to tell. I think the only thing I would say in terms of out-of-the-box thinking, in terms of what could be that, I think people should look at the offseason and see what that looks like and how those, how that's structured and, how, what that looks like from team to team and who's showing up, who's not, what's mandatory, what's not, and is that affecting it? Instead of just looking at the small 2-week deal, what's the real cause of it? And I think I wonder if that will be more telling as well. Or is it just 2 weeks in early in the season and we're all still trying to figure it out?
I know it's obviously still early too, but what has stood out about Grant so far this year, and just his just presence in the room, his leadership style, et cetera?
Just his urgency to be among the best safeties in the NFL. And that's cool. You can wear the shirt and say that's what I want. But are you going to go out there and do the things that are required to make that happen? For me, the biggest things that stand out for Grant Delpit is him attacking the areas of emphasis that I've put on him as a player and coach that I keep between him and I, and him doing that at a high level. And I saw that in the last game, and and in moments when I've identified it in the game, he's fixed them. And that's why you're seeing this just freaking dart, play super, super fast and at a high level. So that's a testament to a player that wants to know his issues and get better at them to get to the level that he knows he can be at and he should be. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day.